In the sweltering summer of July 2021, a traffic stop in Baltimore County would uncover one of the most horrifying cases of child abuse in Maryland's history. Inside the trunk of a car, parked for months, moved across cities, police discovered the decomposing bodies of two young children. Their names, Jocelyn Marie Johnson, just 7 years old, and her little brother, Larry Darnell O'Neill III, only 5. But how did they get there? And why were they left for months, forgotten, hidden, by the very person trusted to protect them? This is the case of Nicole Michelle Johnson, a woman who would become the face of betrayal, neglect, and unthinkable horror. You're watching Crime Decoded. It was July 28, 2021, around 11 p.m., when a Baltimore County officer pulled over a black car for speeding and expired tags. The driver? Nicole Johnson, 33 years old. She didn't seem concerned. In fact, what she said next would chill the officer to the bone. "It don't matter. I won't be here in 5 days. You all will see me on the news making my big debut." That eerie comment wasn't just defiance. It was a twisted prophecy. When the officer went to tow the vehicle, something caught his attention. A foul, overwhelming stench coming from the trunk. Inside, police discovered a suitcase, and inside that suitcase, the mummified, decomposed body of a child. Nearby in a plastic tote bag was a second child. Their tiny bodies had been there for months. Nicole Michelle Johnson was entrusted with her niece and nephew back in July 2019. Their mother, Decaying Johnson, moved from Ohio to Maryland and needed help. She left her 2 children, Jocelyn and Larry, in Nicole's care. But this wasn't a guardian stepping up in love. This was a predator in disguise. Friends, neighbors, if any even saw the kids, didn't realize something was horribly wrong. For nearly 2 years, no school records, no doctor visits, no check-ins. These children had simply disappeared from the system. According to Nicole's own confession, Jocelyn, the 7-year-old, died in May 2020. Nicole said she hit the girl, and Jocelyn hit her head against the wall. Instead of calling 911, she packed her little body into a suitcase and left it in the car. Her younger brother Larry died nearly a year later, sometime around May 2021. His tiny frame, just 21 pounds, was found in a plastic tote beside his sister. July 2021, both bodies discovered. Autopsies showed severe malnutrition. Larry's cause of death couldn't even be confirmed because his body was so badly decomposed. After the bodies were found, Nicole was arrested on the spot. The charges? 2 counts of first-degree child abuse resulting in death neglect, failure to report a death, and unauthorized disposal of human remains. Investigators pieced together the timeline using Nicole's statements, phone records, and forensic evidence. Nicole never reported the deaths. She never sought help. She simply kept driving, with the children rotting in the trunk. The public's response was one of shock, heartbreak, and rage. How could this happen in plain sight? The gruesome discovery of Jocelyn and Larry's remains sent shockwaves through Baltimore and the nation, but the tragedy did not end there. What followed was a chilling journey through the justice system, where the true horror of the case was laid bare. Nicole M. Johnson was formally charged with 2 counts of child abuse resulting in death, along with multiple other charges. Prosecutors painted a horrifying picture of prolonged abuse, including neglect and unauthorized disposal of human remains, neglect and deception. During her first court appearance, Johnson showed little emotion. The judge denied bail, citing the extreme nature of the case and potential risk to the public. Child abuse resulting in death. First-degree assault. Failure to report a death. Unauthorized disposal of human remains. Investigators revealed Johnson had been living with the children's decomposing bodies for months, even years. According to the timeline presented by prosecutors, Jocelyn had died in May 2020. A year later, her younger brother Larry died, also under Johnson's care. Both bodies were discovered in July 2021, hidden in suitcases in the trunk of her car. But how could this happen? What kind of mental state would allow someone to live among the dead? To lie to the world while their niece and nephew decayed in silence? Court-appointed psychologists examined Johnson. Reports suggest a long history of trauma, financial instability, and possible untreated mental illness. She had allegedly expressed that she was overwhelmed, angry, and didn't want to care for them anymore. But does emotional stress excuse cold-blooded inaction? I didn't mean to do it. It just got out of hand. Nicole Johnson, alleged statement. The defense floated the possibility of diminished capacity, citing severe depression. This was intentional abandonment. As the legal battle played out, but the prosecution countered, neglect is not the same as madness. The city of Baltimore was left mourning and questioning. How could two children vanish for over a year with no serious follow-up from anyone? What does that say about the systems meant to protect them? The children's mother, Johnson's sister, claimed she believed they were safe, allegedly told they were staying with relatives in another state. But Child Protective Services never intervened. No school attendance was tracked. No wellness checks conducted. It was as if Jocelyn and Larry had fallen completely off the grid. Children missing for over a year before discovery. CPS failures under scrutiny. After horrific case, in community forums and on social media, outrage erupted. Many blamed systemic neglect, a failure to protect the most vulnerable, especially Black children in under-resourced neighborhoods. Others saw it as a warning of what happens when poverty, trauma, and isolation intersect. In their memory, the community began organizing, not just to mourn, but to fight, demanding policy reform, stronger child welfare oversight, and real mental health resources for guardians struggling in silence. For many in Baltimore, Jocelyn and Larry became more than just names in a case file. They were symbols of innocence lost, of urgent calls ignored, and of a society that must do better. As the courtroom doors opened for the final chapter in Nicole Johnson's case, the nation held its breath. Justice was long overdue, but would it come? After a lengthy investigation and several hearings, Nicole Johnson entered into a plea agreement. She pleaded guilty to 2 counts of neglect of a minor resulting in death, 1 for each child. The judge, citing the egregious nature of the neglect and the suffering endured by the children, sentenced Johnson to 40 years in prison, 20 years for each count, served consecutively. In his statement, the judge called the case one of the most deeply disturbing examples of familial failure he had ever encountered. There were no visible tears, no dramatic outbursts, just silence as Nicole Johnson was escorted away, her fate sealed. The case dominated headlines. True crime forums exploded with theories, outrage, and heartbreak. Many questioned why it took so long to discover the children were missing. Others were stunned that so little accountability fell on other adults in the family. Online, a movement emerged using the hashtag #RJusticeForJocelyn and Larry. Influencers, educators, and activists began sharing resources about child neglect, trauma signs, and the importance of community vigilance. The city of Baltimore, already struggling under the weight of systemic poverty, now had 2 more names etched into the ledger of children lost too soon. Let's decode what happened, not just in the case but in the system around it. Jocelyn Johnson was 7 years old when she reportedly died in May 2020, allegedly after a violent altercation with Nicole. Her body was stuffed into a red suitcase. Her younger brother Larry was just 5 when he died 1 year later in May 2021. His cause of death? Undetermined. His body? placed in a plastic bag next to his sister's remains, both hidden in the trunk of Johnson's car. What followed was over a year of hiding, lying, and living with death. Nicole Johnson had no job, no license, and no stability. Yet for months, no school, no neighbor, no agency stepped in. Until her car was impounded for unrelated reasons in July 2021, and the horrifying truth spilled out. So what broke down? Almost everything. From family communication, to school systems, to CPS oversight, to mental health support. This wasn't just one woman's failure. It was a collapse of every safety net meant to protect the vulnerable. Jocelyn and Larry Johnson are not just victims. They are reminders of the children we forget, the families we overlook, and the consequences of silence. We may never know exactly what led Nicole Johnson down such a dark and unforgivable path. But we do know this: Jocelyn and Larry mattered. And it's up to us to make sure no other child fades away unnoticed. In every case we examine, there's what happened, and then there's what it means. Nicole Johnson didn't just fail as a guardian, she operated in complete isolation. She lied, she neglected, and she discarded, but she didn't do it in a vacuum. 2 children vanished from a world that barely noticed they were gone. One was stuffed into a suitcase, the other wrapped in a trash bag. For over a year, they rode in the trunk of a car that no one ever stopped long enough to question. So ask yourself, how do children disappear in plain sight? No school enrollment, no medical records, no welfare checks, no missing persons report. This is the part where true crime meets real life, where our horror has to turn into action. Jocelyn was 7, Larry was 5. They never got a chance to grow, to laugh, to learn, to be seen. And while Nicole Johnson faces the consequences, we all face the question, what if this happens again? It's not enough to watch, we have to see, we have to speak, we have to act. This isn't just a case, it's a code we have to break, together. This is Crime Decoded.